everybody, welcome back to the next episode in my Can Revv Do series, where I take my trusty Revv Generator 100R head and see if I can't get sort of in the ballpark of some classic tones of some incredible players from the past. Today, I'm going to take a look at one of my favorite players from the 80s and early 90s, actually one of my favorite players still today, and that is the amazing NUNO Bettencourt. Last episode, I looked at 80s hair metal tones, and I was inspired by an episode that the Revv boys did on their Gear and Beers show on Wednesday nights. And by the way, they're going to have an excellent episode tonight if you're watching this video on the first day that it came out. Be sure to check them out. I believe it's around 8:30 p.m. Eastern time tonight. So it got me thinking, the 80s tone I got last time was actually a very thin tone, kind of like a lot of those 80s hair metal tones. Not a tone I was too actually crazy about, but it is a tone that's very much in that ballpark, and I couldn't imagine a lot of that music without that style tone. But today I want to take a look at an 80s tone, but from a player who not only was a spectacular player, but also, I think, had one of the better tones from that era. Now, obviously, the tone I'm going to get today is not going to sound exactly like Nuno's tone. I always give this disclaimer. I mean, Nuno had many tones over the years, depending on what album you were listening to and what song he was playing on. So I kind of listened to a bunch, and I kind of tried to get something that was just more in the spirit of what Nuno would sound like. That nice cutting high end, but still fat at the same time. That just always seemed to work in all of his music. And you might have heard a little snippet of the Get the Funk Out solo in the very beginning of this video. I'm going to have the full playthrough of that solo using only the guitar tone that I created today using the Revv Gen 100R and the built-in Torpedo. So without further ado, let's go over to, first of all, the Revv amp, see the settings I used on it, and then over to the Torpedo Remote software to see which dyni are from the folks at 2Notes I decided to use and all the settings. And then if you have this same sort of setup, hopefully you can get something in the same ballpark and enjoy playing this tone as much as I do. All right, let's head over and check this out. So here we are over at the amp. You'll see that I am on channel 3, or the red channel of the Revv Gen 100R. I'm on the blue aggression setting. You'll notice that I have my gain up between 1 and 2 o'clock, let's say. Treble is up around 1 o'clock. Mids are at noon. Bass is at noon. And the bright, cut, and fat switch are all turned off. Over to the master section, I am using master 1. It's just a hair above 9 o'clock. I have my presence up around 1:30, 2 o'clock as well, and my depth just a little bit past noon. So those were the settings on the amp. Now coming over to the Torpedo Remote software, you'll see that I am once again using a dyni from the Steve Stevens Platinum Collection. This time I'm using the Stevens Brit 80 Ace 412. I really have to say that the folks at 2Notes really knocked it out of the park with this package. Big congrats. I've said it before to them and Steve Stevens for putting together such an amazing dyni package. Really, really nice stuff. Now, I do have a few things going on here. I'm using 2 microphones on this cabinet. I'm combining the Dyne 57 or the Shure SM57 with the Ribbon 4038, which is a Coles 4038. And that's how I got the nice balance between kind of that biting, cutting tone coming from the Dyne 57 to the fullness and the beef and the fat from the Ribbon 4038. I find those 2 mics work really nice together. So the Dyne 57 I have set at -5 dB. Axis is 0%, distance is 0%. So it's straight on that grill, and that's why I kind of pulled it back. Shure SM57 straight on the center of the cone, right up against the grill, is usually going to have a pretty harsh sound, but blended with the Ribbon mic works really nice. The Ribbon 4030, I have at -1 dB. It also is on axis at 0%, and the distance is pulled back just to kind of control some of that proximity effect boominess, and that's at a 17% setting. I don't have the twin tracker on for this. I do have the Studio B reverb set to ambience mode, dry wet at 50%, size at 40%, echo at 27%, color at 84%, and width at 50%. And that just gave a nice roomy sound to it that kind of made it sit nicely in the mix. No enhancer on this tone, but I do have the tiniest bit of EQ here. And if you go up to 360 hertz, I pulled out 2 dB. So -2 dB setting on that. So let's turn the EQ off. Let's turn the reverb off. Let's even mute the Ribbon mic. And let's just hear what this tone sounds like just on the SM57 or the Dyne 57. You can hear how it's a very bitey, high-end tone. Okay, now we'll mute that and unmute the Ribbon 4038, and this is what this one sounds like. When combined together, I find it gives a really nice balance between the two. All right, but I wasn't done there. That obviously has a very dry in-your-face sound. So I brought in this reverb I told you about before. Kind of softens the tone a bit, helps it to sit in the mix, and just gives it a little more overall pleasant sound, I find. And that wasn't the complete tone, though. I did bring in this EQ just to clean up a little bit of mud and give it a little bit more clarity. So without that little EQ, it's this. And with it, it's this. So you could always have some fun and throw that twin tracker on there if you really want to beef things up. I didn't use it at all in this particular instance, but it is kind of a fun thing to put on. So that was the final tone. So what do you guys think of that? I think the question that's left is how does it sound in the mix? So what I did is I created a backing track using Superior Drummer 3 from the fine folks at TuneTrack and also their Easy Bass. I recreated kind of the rhythm section of the solo part of Get the Funk Out with a little tag at the end in the way that they end the song. I used my trusty Vigier Excalibur, this beautiful black one that I absolutely love so much. I did use this to record the rhythm guitar tones, double track that, pan them hard left and right. And then it's just one guitar on this other red Vigier Excalibur that I plugged in. Now, as far as processing in the mix, there's absolutely none except for I took the amazing Helix native software and added a touch of tape delay to the lead just to have it sit in the mix. Other than that, though, you're hearing this tone for all the guitars. So here it is if you want to hear me kind of hack my way through NUNO's amazing solo on Get the Funk Out. This is a solo I have performed before. It's been a couple years since I tried. I got up this morning, practiced it maybe 10 or 15 times, kind of hacked my way through it. And after a short bit of practice this morning, I was able to get sort of in the ballpark, and I hope you guys like it. So here is this tone we talked about today used over my backing track for the Get the Funk Out guitar solo, NUNO's incredible solo on that. right, so what do you guys think? I hope you enjoyed it. If you have a similar setup here, if you just have this Dyne IR with maybe a modeler that does the Revv tones, maybe you can dial in something similar. But it's a tone that I really enjoyed. It was a lot of fun putting together, and it was a lot of fun putting together the solo for Get the Funk Out. Always a fun one to do, real classic, and my hats off to Nuno for such an incredible amount of great playing spanning his whole career, never mind that one solo. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed that. Please tune in tonight if you are watching this on the day of release, which is Wednesday, August 24th. Check out the folks at Revv tonight on their YouTube channel. They will be doing a hangout with Sean Tubbs, showing how you can use his amazing new tilt overdrive. Amazing pedal. You guys should all grab this. It's a killer pedal to add to your rig. I have a video about this too, and there's a bunch of video that Sean's done for it as well. Incredible stuff. So go hang out with those guys tonight. It's always a good time, and you can jump in the chat there and have a blast with some fine folks. Thank you guys so much for sharing your time with me. Please like the video, share it with anybody who you think would get some enjoyment or you sort of watching it. And also please subscribe to my channel, hit the little bell notification to get notified when I put new content out. I'll be back really soon with some more. Thank you guys again so much for tuning in. Ciao for now.